Coming up on Saturday, the 22nd of April at the Lido Cinema is a film festival all day called the ReelGood Film Festival. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the festival director of the ReelGood Film Festival, Chris Luscri. Chris, welcome to Movie Metropolis again.
Thank you, Peter, once again for your many, many, many years of support at this point. I really appreciate it.
Always happy to do so. First of all, tell me about this ReelGood Film Festival so that people know what the concept is behind it.
Yeah, so the ReelGood Film Festival, which is now in its 9th year, is one of the longest running short film festivals in Victoria. It's like the third most significant short film showcase in Victoria behind, of course, Smith and St Kilda. And the way we run the festival is very unique. It's a one-day festival. It happens in the Lido complex in Hawthorn, and we take 4 screens simultaneously. And the way we run our sessions is each session runs for 25 minutes long. There's 2 short films per session, and it's rotating. So all throughout the day, punters get a chance to kind of walk in and out of cinemas, kind of like they're multiplex hopping, checking out different films, and the packages of films will shift. It's a little bit like a labyrinth, actually, throughout the course of the day. And they alternate film sessions with a program of talks, drinks, networking. It's quite a full day, and it's from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening. And it culminates with an awards ceremony.
How very interesting. Tell me about, because they're all Australian films, so tell me about the way you've selected them.
Yeah, so ReelGood is specifically set up to kind of spotlight Australian short films and recent Australian short films. So because we didn't run in 2022, the way I approached curating the festival this year was to really just pick from the best Australian short films of the last 2.5 years. Of which that was certainly no easy task because there were some really, really fabulous films. So we whittled down a selection that started from like 380 down to 22 films. Our shortlist was about 60 films. And so this really represents the best of Australian short filmmaking over the last 2.5 years, from documentaries to short fiction to animation to experimental films to hybrid films. It's really quite an eclectic mix, but they're all unified. They're all unified really by first and foremost being personal films. There's a sense very much that each film speaks to the voice of the filmmaker making it. And a lot of the films, what's always interesting, Peter, is, with your own, work on festival juries is you start making these really strange and organic linkages between films as you start putting them together. And that's always really exciting. So there's a number of really significant core themes that have emerged for this year's program.
Can you highlight what those are?
Yeah, so there's quite an emphasis on female filmmakers and on films from non-English speaking backgrounds, or from filmmakers of non-English speaking backgrounds. Filmmakers like Alison Chorn, who is a really good friend and collaborator, William Dwan. There's a great focus on documentary this year. There's a terrific focus on films that was shot in Melbourne on film. And they're usually kind of quite small, intimate chamber pieces and character dramas. Films like Friends of Mine by Andreas Giannopoulos, which is having its Melbourne premiere with us. Films like Gem by Jim Muntsiov, which is a beautiful non-binary kind of gentle drama, just this incredibly delicate film. And films like Lion Parfait by Pat Mooney, which is beautifully shot and composed on 16mm film. And also, genre titles. So we have some really significant films like Hatchback, which was ACTA nominated, which is a kind of a classic Australian comedy thriller film focused on 2 hitmen disposing of a body, which is like the classic short film setup. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, actually. I was really surprised. Usually I'm allergic to that kind of filmmaking, but I was completely charmed by that film. And not least by the writing and the performances. It's really well made. Films like Nest, James Hunter's short black and white 16mm horror film, which is just this immaculately designed and composed horror fable, kind of in a kind of Daphne du Maurier kind of territory, but set in a kind of a remote outback forest, and dealing with kind of the cries of a child morphing into kind of implications of a ghost-like presence. And also one of the more significant films in the program that have First Nations content. And that brings me also to I think maybe the most significant film for me. I mean, all of the films are significant, but I think the big pleasure this year with the program is that we're going to be screening the film Day in the Life by the Karrabing Film Collective. We're also flying the Karrabing Film Collective out from the Northern Territory to Melbourne for 4 days specifically to attend the festival and do a Q&A with us. And the Karrabing Film Collective are, for my money, the most interesting filmmakers working in the country at the moment, like unparalleled level of ingenuity, innovation, experimentation, beauty, storytelling, everything that you could sort of want to see in a film, they've somehow been doing. And it's almost like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of their films, but it's like, it's so hard to describe their work. The kind of hybrid documentaries, agate prop, kind of almost like Godard and his Ziga Vertov period from the mid to late 60s, but with, obviously made by a First Nations collective of filmmakers. So it's unbelievably kind of like thrilling filmmaking of a kind that we don't really see much of in Australia. And outside MIF, they haven't been that widely supported here in Australia. Inside the museum circuit they've had work at the National Carriage Works, for instance, and at the Sam Stagg Museum in South Australia, but they haven't been widely exposed on the festival circuit here, which is a real shame. But they have had some significant international support at, with Museum of Modern Art and the Rotterdam Film Festival and the I Film Museum, etc. But so we're really, really thrilled to be engaging them with the festival, engaging with them as the festival this year.
Sounds very interesting. And I have seen some of the other films that just programs such as Reptile, Idol, Freedom Swimmer,
yep,
and of course the Oscar nominee. And I spoke to Lachlan about his film,
right.
An Ostrich. What a remarkable animation or stop motion that is.
Brilliant. Oh, it's completely brilliant. It's and it was also a complete surprise. I mean, I watched it after its Oscar nomination. I wish I'd seen it earlier because I would have been completely surprised by it. But it's this gorgeous Charlie Kaufman-esque, very handcrafted, very handmade, but incredibly precise comedy animation about an office worker who starts to suspect that his universe may not be under his control. It was made as a Griffith University Film Studies project. Yep. So it's literally his grad project out of film school, and for that to go on and then get a Student Academy Award, then go on and get an Oscar nomination is quite insane. Especially given he, like Alison Shawn, with her work Blind Body, kind of served on every role on the production that you could imagine, from writing and directing to animating and puppet and set fabrication. So it's really quite extraordinary, that film. And also just a very delightful film. But we also have two other films that were Oscar long-listed, including Elise Schweder's film, Ayan, beautiful refugee drama with the great Trevor Jamison and Babadita Sadjo, who's up for a Best On-Screen Talent Award for her performance. And also, of course, Freedom Swimmer, which is an extraordinary kind of hybrid doco animation, beautifully crafted film about successive waves of immigration to Hong Kong, and comparing the first kind of wave of significant refugee migration from China to Hong Kong in the 80s with the sort of current crisis in Hong Kong, created by the Chinese government's crackdown on peaceful protesting. So it's a really significant film and a very political film. A lot of the filmmakers on that production are unnamed because they obviously fearing reprisals from the Chinese government. So it's a very urgent and necessary film. And the move in that film from animation to contemporary archival footage is enormously powerful. It reminds me of the ending of Waltz with Bashir, the great film that Ari Folman directed. So that's also maybe the most significantly resourced film in terms of scale of budgets of all the films in the program. That was a film that was made for a significant amount of money with French Arte broadcast money involved. But so it's wonderful that the program can encompass these scales, the kind of more high-end professional, almost feature level short films versus films made for on scraps for nothing. We're quite collegiate in that way. We try and encompass as broad a range of not only styles and forms but methodologies and budget ranges as well.
It is an excellent festival by the sounds of it. And apart from the Karrabing Film Collective, who will be, as you say, flying out, some of them will be flying out to the festival, you've got
Yeah.
other filmmaker guests as well.
Yes, we do. So it's we try and sort of canvas a really broad range of conversations around different thematic linkages within the films in our program. So I think we have upwards of 20 people speaking on the day, which is going to be terrific. So we're doing at 2 p.m. a session about personal documentary, because one of the trends in the program is like documentary films made directly by family and friends of the documentary subjects themselves. So we're speaking to Emily Clifton, the director of Onions, Alison Chorn, who's of course well-exposed film Blind Bodies playing, and also Jessica Barclay-Lawton for her film The Sweetness. And then at 3 p.m. we're doing a spotlight on new queer cinema in the age of the post-COVID, and we've got sort of a bit of a cornucopia of people involved. We've got the writer-director of Hayes, Meg Duncan. We've got Jim Munsiob, the writer-director of Jam. We've got Will Dwan, the writer-director of Twina. And then we've got Talia Polachuk and Alex Cardi, who are two of the people behind the Sissy Screens Collective animation I used to watching, which is this sort of glorious, very, very funny, very, very sexy queer animation made in a sort of a post-pop punk fusion kind of style. It's a very enjoyable film. And then at 4 p.m. we're doing a spotlight on films in the program that was shot on film. At 5 p.m. we're doing a spotlight on editors and their process in putting together short form films. And then of course at 6:35 in the big cinema we're going to be interviewing the Karrabing Film Collective after their film screens.
Wow. The Lido will be buzzing all day on Saturday, the 22nd of
Hopefully.
April.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't get, the space restrictions don't mean that people spill out over onto the streets, but no, it's going to be good fun.
Yeah. And you've also got a team of judges involved in judging the films. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been really lucky. I mean, I have some good friends in the industry, and also people who know the festival that have been eager to be involved. So we've got some sort of significant judges like Alice Burgeon, who's head of documentary at Sweet Shop and Green, formerly of ARDC, Jason Raftopoulos, the director of West of Sunshine and Voices in Deep, my friend James Hewison, who of course you'd know very well, and former director of the Melbourne International Film Festival and of the AFI. Marissa Brown, who's a development coordinator with Tony Ayres Productions and just an absolutely ace, fantastic person. Molly O'Connor, who's a producer at Film Camp, and Kalu Oji, who's an emerging Igbo Australian writer-director who's currently developing their first feature with Arena Media. So trying to kind of get a balance between, writer-directors and also people who are always, like development producers are always on the lookout for new talent. So it's as much about spotlighting the films that we think represent the next wave of significant Australian film talent to people that might be able to escalate their careers, as much as it is about awarding the films themselves.
Very good indeed. So would you prefer people to book tickets through the website or to turn up? What's the best way to do this?
I think because tickets are selling fast, the best thing to do is to jump on our website to purchase tickets. Now, the ticket price is set at $30, and that gives you access to the entire event from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So all the films, all the talks. It's really great value for money, and the limited tickets left, so you really must jump on and purchase as soon as possible.
And the website is rgff.com.au.
.com.au, and on the top right corner there's a little ticket tab that'll take you to a try booking page.
Okay, excellent. So that's all day Saturday, the 22nd of April at the Lido Cinema. And Chris, just before I let you go, thanks for all of that. That was great. Seen anything else lately that impressed you?
Yes, thankfully I have. There's an absolutely magnificent Senegalese French drama called Saint Omer. Have you heard of it, Peter?
No.
Saint Omer. Won the Grand Jury Prize at Venice last year. It's a stone cold masterpiece. It's incredible. I urge all of your listeners to check the film out. I don't know if it's still showing. It might still be showing at the Nova. Let me just have a look. I'll even read the session times too.
It's at the Nova, is it?
It's an extraordinary film. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't heard
An
of it.
extraordinary film.
Okay.
Yep, it's showing at the Como. No, it's only at Palace Cinemas at the moment.
Oh,
It's
Palace.
down to
Right.
its last. You must go and see that film. It's incredible.
Okay. Just repeat
Yeah.
the title again.
Saint Omer.
Oh,
S.
sorry. I wasn't
Yeah.
catching you. Yes, Saint Omer, I've seen. Yes, about
Yeah.
the woman on trial for murdering her
How good is
child.
it?
Fantastic. Yes,
It's amazing. Yeah,
great
it should have been
story.
Oscar nominated. Probably should have won
Yes.
Best International Feature. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's a number of possibilities that should have won, but that's another story. But no, I agree. Saint
Have you seen?
Omer.
Did you see
Yes.
the? Did you see the? Have you seen the Skolomowski film EO?
I have.
Have
It's
you?
very, very good. I was impressed
Yeah,
by the humanity of the animal depiction.
wonderful. Any match for the Bresson film? Probably not.
Oh,
Or
it's
just
not
very.
quite. Yeah, it's not quite Oh Hazard Balthasar because that had a much
What is? Yeah,
broader narrative attached to it. But I really liked EO. Yeah, no, it's
like
some
a
good
six
stuff.
night
Good films around,
documentary.
and people are going back to the cinemas, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's terrific. It's really terrific. It's been a pleasure. It was great. It's been great going back to the movies and seeing films. I went into the Hayden's Orpheum in Sydney recently to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
And that was the film's this kaleidoscopic headache, half very enjoyable, half interminable. But the experience of watching that film in that I think it's the best cinema in the country bar none. It's amazing. So yeah, it's always a pleasure going to the movies.
It certainly
I
is.
haven't done it. Yeah.
Okay, we've been speaking to Chris Luscri, who's the festival director of the ReelGood Film Festival at the Lido Cinema, Saturday, 22nd of April. Chris, as usual, pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, Peter.
All the best.
All the best.